Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first keynote of today. We are, of course, in the community village here at Wakelet World during Wakelet Community Week, and we're very excited. It's been a great week so far, but it's not ending right now. We've got a few more sessions today, starting out with this keynote from two amazing speakers that are behind stage right now. Please show some love, some Wakelet love in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. Let the speakers know where you're joining from. This is, after all, a worldwide community. So we want to see everywhere across the world where you're joining from today. So thank you first and foremost for jumping on. I hope you enjoyed the session prior. As we keep on saying, we have amazing competitions throughout the week. So anything that you like from any of the sessions, anything that sticks out to you, anything that you want to share, make sure you use that hashtag Wakelet Community Week, because it will enter you into an amazing competition we've got going on. You can win Community Week swag packs with some t-shirts and key rings and stickers in there. We've also got some experience vouchers, so you can experience a day at maybe Disney or your local theme park. And then also the big one that everyone's talking about is that trip. So one lucky winner will get that trip to ISTE 2024 in Colorado. So it is picked at random. What we say is the more times you enter, the more chance you have. So yeah, the hashtag is Wakelet Community Week, and the name is @Wakelet. So best of luck to everyone entering there. For those asking about certificates, don't you worry. In the chat, that will pop up maybe around 10 minutes to go of the session, and you'll be able to fill out your certificate there. And yes, this is available on rewatch. So hello to those watching it back. And if there's anything that you spot that you really like, or you want to come back to some of the techniques that our speakers are talking about, then you can always just come back later on and even share it with colleagues too. But without further ado, like I said, this is a great segue from our last session, from our yoga retreat. So you're probably all in the mood to hear some more tips and tricks on mindfulness. So we have two amazing speakers. We have Chris and Destiny joining us from Texas. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Destiny.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, it's amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today for this keynote. Honestly, I think us and the whole Wakelet community are really looking forward to learn some more tips about mindfulness and how they can practice it, because I think you'll probably cover this as well. It's one thing that I think a lot of us, never mind educators, students as well, I think it's time to focus on ourselves and being mindful. So please do take it away. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
We wanted to start off by showing our bit.ly so that you guys can join. We're presenting from a Wakelet space today, and I will leave that on the screen when that shows up for a little bit. Thank you very much. So we will give you a few moments for those of you that want to follow along with us to be able to join in our Wakelet space. I'll present from the different collections, but feel free to browse. And I guess tell you a little bit about us while you guys do that. I'm Destiny Wagner. I'm a retired physics teacher and instructional technology coach. I am a certified yoga teacher and self-defense instructor, and I've spent the last 2 years really diving deep into cultivating calm and mindfulness. I'm currently working on my 500-hour yoga certification, so I have a lot of good tips and tricks to give you today. Chris?
And I am Chris Thurston. I am the Director of Technology for John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas. I have been in the technology side of education technology for over 23 years. And so Destiny and I kind of got into this together because we're both tired of teachers getting burnt out and leaving the profession. I hate losing my good teachers. And so this mindfulness practice that we are building is a good way to help relieve that burnout feeling.
So also, hi, Diane. I see you in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. And everybody else, we're excited. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm a little bit allergic to mornings, and it's kind of early here in Texas. So I'm glad you're here, and let's get started. So we're going to start out with recognizing some stress. And the first thing I want you to do is take a deep breath. So just see what that feels like in your body. So what did you notice? And I know if you want to talk about things in the chat, you're welcome to do that, or just in your own mind. But thinking about when you take that deep breath, and if you didn't pay attention to your body, go ahead and take another breath and see where your body moved. And the reason that I ask that is because a lot of times when I say take a deep breath, people go, and their shoulders shrug up to here. And what that does is it actually sends a signal to your brain that you're in danger. So, a little bit of background on physiologically what's happening when we find stress in our body is there are two parts to your nervous system. So, the first part is called the sympathetic nervous system, and that is our fight or flight. So, that's what happens when your body senses danger. So, anytime that we think we're taking a deep breath and calming ourselves, but if our shoulders shrug, we're protecting our jaw and our brain and our head where all of those life skills life things are residing in our body, and our brain doesn't interpret the difference. It just notices physically what's happening, and it spikes our adrenaline and our glucose, and all of that energy is directed towards survival. So fine motor skills and thinking, those kind of fall to the wayside. So what we want to do when we're taking that deep breath is to kind of slow it down. See if you can relax your shoulders, get a lot of space between the shoulders and the ears, and think about breathing through the chest and the belly. And go ahead and take a deep breath with that and see if you can notice a difference. So I don't know if you noticed in the speech, when we talked about the sympathetic part of the nervous system, it was going really fast. There's a lot of energy and you get that fight or flight. We're going to calm it down now. So deep breath through the chest, relax the shoulders. Okay. So now, I don't know if your own body, but I can tell that I'm a little bit calmer. Some of the nerves are passing. And by engaging that rest and digest part of our nervous system, that kind of starts to restore a more sense of calm and composed state for us. And what I want you to get in the habit of is being able to recognize different physical signs of stress in your body. So that first one we talked about was shrugging your shoulders. But is there any other way, if you guys could tell me in the chat, what are some other ways that you see stress popping up for you in your physical body? So I'll give you a moment. Chris, do you have anything on that you've noticed?
For me, it's usually like the neck and the middle of my back will like between the shoulder blades is where I get super tense and carry a lot of my stress. So doing things like fish pose or using a yoga ball against the wall or even like a lacrosse ball against the wall helps a lot with that. So.
Cool. Well, as we see some things coming through the chat, I was going to show you some examples of things and signs that you might notice for those physical signs of stress for you guys. I'm seeing some biting nails, aching neck, blurred vision. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't actually have those on there, so we're going to add those to our list in the future presentations.
Nail biting's a big one for me too.
You have that one too. Oh, the lump in your throat. I get that when I get nervous. Oh, behavioral patterns like eating more. That's a really good one too. So it's not necessarily just those physical signs in your body. We might see different patterns of behavior as well. And those are really important to notice. So we've got a few of those up here on the screen. For me, holding your breath is a big one. And if you have somebody around you that you spend a lot of time with, maybe start to share with each other what those signs are. And then you can help each other start to recognize those signs of stress. I know a lot of time for me, sometimes Chris will look at me and he'll go, take a breath. It's okay. And they're like, oh yeah, I was holding my breath. I need to breathe. That's important. So as you guys continue to share in the chat, we'll kind of get that camaraderie, knowing that stress is pretty common and we all have it, but let's find some ways where we can really start to abate that. And one of the ways is through breathing. So I'll take you through some yogic types of breath and some different techniques. This, I would say it's interactive. I know I can only see you guys in the chat, but please feel free to pipe in and give us any thoughts you have. And depending on where you are certainly welcome to follow along with our breathing techniques. So the first thing to do is to recognize and notice where you're breathing in your body. So we talked about that at the beginning. You breathe through your shoulders. Are you feeling it in your chest? Maybe you can even start to lower that breath down. So if you can see me a little bit, I like to take my hands and really wrap them around my rib cage. And when you do that and hold on to your ribs and take those slow, deep breaths, think about dropping the shoulders. And then as you're breathing, really concentrate on the feel of your ribs expanding on that inhale and then contracting on that exhale. So inhale and exhale. So that's another option that you can do just to bring that awareness of where the breath is in your body. And anytime we can lower that breath and that recognition away from the shoulders, you're really starting to engage that rest and digest part of your nervous system. But there are a few other techniques you can do. So I'm going to give you two of my favorites that I teach in yoga. The first one is called Ujjayi, or oceanic breath. So I will leave this on the screen for you and give you a little bit of instruction if you would like to follow along wherever you're watching us from. So the Ujjayi, or oceanic breath, is a way to really slow that breath down. And the way you would do that is to inhale through your nose, but as you exhale, think about having a really slight constriction in your throat. So if you think of our throat as kind of this little open pipe of airflow, you can actually control that muscle and squish it almost like a straw if you feel that starting to squish. And then as you're exhaling, make an audible sound. And if you want to think about it and try it, you can hold your hand in front of your face. And so if you inhale through your nose and then exhale out the mouth with a ha, it's almost that feel as if you were fogging up a mirror, and you can actually feel that breath coming out on your hand. So I'm going to do about 3 rounds of that with you if you wanted to follow along with me and see if that's something that you like, if you like that breath. So inhale. One more. Nice. And just notice how your body feels after that. And I did see someone in the chat say that that was also called the Darth Vader breath. And that is true. I've seen that come up because it kind of makes that sound to it. So maybe if you're teaching littles, that might be a fun way to talk about that type of breath. The next one is actually my favorite. It is called Bhramari Pranayama, and it's also known as bee breathing. And the reason for that is just a simple hum on the exhale. So for this one, you just inhale through your nose, hum as you exhale, and that's all there is to it. So I'm going to do 3 of those with you. Feel free to join. If not, you can watch me on the screen. So inhale through the nose. We've got 2 more of those. And for this last one, see if you can feel that vibration in your throat. Sometimes it gets a little squeaky there. So with that bee breathing and that Bhramari Pranayama, the humming sound that you're hearing is actually vibrating parts of your body. And that vibration is a soothing way to calm the nerves. This breath lowers your blood pressure. And they're actually teaching it. I have a friend of mine, she's got a 1st grader and a 2nd grader, and they're teaching this bee breath in our schools in our local area for the young kids, especially when they come back in from recess, just as a way to calm them down and give them a reset button in the middle of the day. For me, it reminds me of a cat purr. I don't know if anybody in the audience has a cat, but if you've ever held a cat while it's purring and feel those healing vibrations, to me, that's really soothing. So it's one of the reasons that that one's my favorite. And then I'll let Chris talk about the next one. It's called the Take 5.
So this is my, you can use it anywhere, pattern interrupt, de-stress in the middle of your day technique. And you can really literally be as subtle or as obvious as you want and use this pretty much anywhere you go. But what you're going to do is just take your hand and then use your other hand and take a finger and trace the outside of your fingers. And so as you move to the end of your finger is an inhale, and then moving back in towards your palm is an exhale, and trace all the way around. And 5 big inhales, 5 big exhales all the way around. And what that does is, as you focus on tracing your hand, it takes your focus away from everything else and takes your focus away from the things that are stressing you out. So you have the focus on actually tracing your hand, the focus on your breathing, actually taking the deep breath, plus the physical feedback of what it feels like on the sensitive in between parts of your fingers and in the webbing, and that feeling, all of those, that multisensory input helps you shed the stress and take away the things that are getting you all tense. My favorite example of this one is when you get in line at the grocery store behind the lady with 75 coupons and then is paying the remainder in pennies. So, or writing a check.
Writing a check, yeah. All right. Yeah, I really like that one just because, like Chris said, it can be subtle or it can be obvious. And if you have somebody stressed in your life and you can say, whoa, you need to take 5, just as that gentle reminder to each other. So let's see, our next steps. I won't walk you through this one, but we did include a lot of extra resources in our Wakelet collections in this space. So you guys will have access to that to look through and explore on your own. I'll just mention these and not really demonstrate a couple of them, but the 3-part yogic breath is looking at where you're breathing in your body. So being able to really control whether you're breathing through your chest, through the rib cage, like we showed before, or maybe hands on the belly and feeling your belly expand and contract with that breath. So it's similar to the Take 5 in that you have that multi-sensory experience, and being able to engage any other of your senses is a way to help calm the body. The next one is a 4-7-8 breath. And this was actually invented by Dr. Andrew Weil. And I put a link in the Wakelet collection for you, for those of you that are in our Wakelet space, to see him demonstrate this breath and really go into the science of why this works so well. But it's pretty much just a pattern of breath. So that 4-7-8, the 4 refers to inhaling for a count of 4. And then you pause and hold your breath for a count of 7, and then slowly exhale for a count of 8. And for this one, I actually use this in the middle of the night. If I wake up and I'm having trouble falling back asleep, I'll do this 4-7-8 breath. And it's just a way to regulate your breathing and kind of calm that nervous system back down in order to fall back asleep. And then the last part for our breathing is to talk about patterns. And similar to that 4-7-8, there are different patterns you can explore and play with. So I have these in the collection for you. The first number refers to your inhale. The second number in the ratio is a pause. So if there's a 0 that you see, that means that you're not pausing. The third number is an exhale, and the fourth number is also a pause. So in that first one, if you see where it says equal breathing, and by the way, these numbers are just examples. You can play with the actual number that you're counting with. It's the ratio that's important. But on that equal breathing, inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4. There are no pauses. The triangle breathing, there's no pause between the inhale and exhale. So inhale for 4, exhale for 4, and then add a pause at the end of the exhale for whatever count that you want. I just used 2 as an example. And then the box breathing is adding a pause in between every inhale and exhale. So these are typically numbers of counting of where we start. How fast you count doesn't matter. I know some people, especially with that 4-7-8 breath, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't hold my breath for a count of 7. You can count faster. Okay, so it doesn't have to be slow, methodical counting. We're just looking at keeping those ratios. All right, for our next part with that breath, being able to connect your breath to movement. And Chris, are you going to make your joke? Because I put that picture on the screen for you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's the I's and the E's are inhale and exhale. We are not singing Old MacDonald. It is not E-I-E-I-O. So.
Okay. So I don't know if you're awake enough for our humor, but we can throw a little bit of fun in there for you. So we talked about engaging other senses. Also, if you can look at engaging movement in your body and connecting that to breath. And I've worked with a couple of private clients for yoga. And for them, sometimes I'm really surprised at how often I'll say, inhale and bring your arms overhead, and then exhale, bring them down. And they're thinking too much and get confused. And they're like, wait, was I supposed to inhale or exhale? I can't remember. So I have a picture here for you. And also for those of you that prefer words, we have words. And then if you're in that Wakelet collection, you can see me later doing a video, but I'm going to walk you through this and we'll do this together. So thanks for the humor early in the morning, Nancy. All right. So I'm back up a little bit. If you wanted to join us in, this is called the Circle of Joy. It's how I start most of my yoga classes. And just sit up nice and tall. Your arms are down at your side. We'll take a nice big inhale to bring your arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down to heart center. And then we'll interlace the fingers on that inhale. And then as you exhale, you're pressing the palms out and really rounding the back and shoulders. Keeping the fingers interlaced, we'll sit up nice and tall, bringing the arms up overhead, and then releasing the arms down. So I'll take you through that motion with our breath. We'll just do one round. Okay. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale to interlace the fingers. Exhale, press the palms away. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. And exhale, release. And dropping those shoulders down at the end. So you can do that as many times as you want. It's only 3 breaths, but because you're connecting it to movement, you're getting that added sense of relaxing and having that mindfulness in your body as well as in your mind. So I'll do one more of those with you. Our next one is a seated stretch. So I like the yoga stick figures. It's how I sketch out all my classes. So since I'm a visual person, I have that for you. And those of you that like to read, that is there for you as well. Well, wow, that Texas accent came out. So we will do this one together. I'll lead you through it if you would like to join. So sitting up nice and tall. We'll inhale to bring the arms up overhead. Grab one wrist with the other hand. Exhale, stretch over to one side. Stay here for a full cycle of breath. Inhale and exhale. On the inhale, we'll go back to center. Switch out your hands. Exhale, stretch to the other side. Stay for a full cycle of breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale back to center. Then we'll bring the hands to heart center for our exhale. And now we'll open up the chest. So on your next inhale, think about opening the arms up. And then exhale, drawing the arms together in front of the face. The elbows may or may not touch depending on your shoulders. And just continue to do that for a couple of more rounds. I call this cactus arms, or sometimes here in Texas, because football's pretty big, it's our goalpost arms. But you're just working the shoulders here. And then inhale up nice and tall. And exhale, let the hands go down to your side. So that is just an example of a pattern that I do, especially for seated stretches. If you're sitting at your desk and you can't get up and move around a lot, you can still get some sort of movement and really slowing down the breath and engaging that parasympathetic part of the nervous system. And you're getting an added stretch with that as well. And then the way that I end all of my yoga classes is 3 collective breaths. And actually, I like to do this in meetings or in classes to get that mind-body connection. Since we're talking about mindfulness, if you place your left hand over your heart and your right hand on the low belly, you're really engaging the heart and the gut together. So it's linking that intuition with your body. So intuition, physical body working together and making that connection with your hands. If you feel comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes. We'll just inhale, take a deep breath through the nose, and then exhale, open mouth, sigh, let it go. We do one more of those. Inhale through the nose, sigh it out. And the last one is a shh for the nervous system. Inhale. And so those 3 simple breaths for me, I find that really calming. It's something that you can do. I tried to give you short examples. Obviously, you can expand these as much as you want to, but just a few tools to kind of get you started. And I hope that the breathing part has gone well for you so far. Anybody else in the chat breathing? I'm seeing a lot of great comments in here, and also adding that stretching along with our breath too. So please feel free to keep adding on to that. And then our next part, me take a breath right in the middle here. We are about halfway through-ish. We'll find a balanced approach to our lives. So in taking you through, these are some techniques and tips and tricks. They work for me. I also tried to give you different examples. And Chris, you can chime in anytime if there's some of these that you do or you want to add to. Please feel free to interrupt as well. Okay. All right. So for the first part, just recognizing and managing your stress. You guys, self-care isn't selfish. You can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourselves. So it's okay to be selfish and put yourself first, because it's really not being selfish. You're taking the time and the steps to make sure that you get the care that you need so that you can pass that on to the people that are important to you.
Recovery time is not wasted time.
Right. And then also think of the idea of self-care, not aftercare. I don't want this to be an afterthought for you. It's so much better to take care of yourselves now than to have all of those physical ailments show up later in our body and then have to figure out how to take care of those and reverse some of the damage. So being mindful as you move through your life, it's more of a preventative measure. And then also, if there is any damage, we can kind of fix that and reverse it in small doses. And Chris likes to tell me anytime I do get stressed, he's like, it's okay to feel your feelings. You earned them. So
Yes.
getting that out of your body is really important too. So go ahead and feel your feelings, even if it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
All right. You're like, oh my gosh, why is there a picture of a race car on our mindfulness presentation? Because you want to think about having pit stops in your day. Okay, so being able to manage those stress triggers. We spent some time recognizing physical signs of the stress. You guys had some great ideas in the chat as well, plus the behavioral changes that you notice when you're stressed. So once you notice those, by mentally taking note of them and how your body's responding, that awareness can flip the switch on those triggers. You kind of learn to break your own OODA loop. And an OODA loop is something we talk about in our self-defense class. It stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. So observe what's happening in your body. Orient, oh, maybe I should sit up nice and tall and start to, change my physical shape of my body. Decide what would be a good remedy. Maybe that's one of those breath patterns or techniques that we talked about. And then act. Actually do that breath. Follow your breath with your movement. And so that intention precedes the feeling. Anytime that we're reacting to stress, you're always behind the curve. So being able to recognize those triggers and take that pit stop before you burn out can be really, really helpful. So you're doing preventative maintenance, not damage control at the end.
Yeah, your body's going to run in that OODA loop when you are on stage and you are performing and you're doing, you're lecturing and having conversation with your students. You're running through that, whether you know it or not, you're running through that OODA loop over and over and over again. And so you have to be able to take time and break that and let your body reset and shed that stress. And so that's making time to do that's super important.
So part of that is the preparation, finding out ways that you can really problem solve before you get to that point. So I put a few of those on the screen for you, just examples and some strategies that you might try. We spent a lot of time on the breathing exercises for that first one. Another one is, I don't know about you, but how many of us take work home with us and we're like, no, I want to be intentional with my family and leave all of those work stresses behind. So maybe a strategy for you is to use a door frame trigger. So whenever you reach that door in your home, pick 3 words or a sentence or 2 that you say to yourself for the kind of person and setting that intention for when you walk through that door. Some of us have a midday slump and we want to feel a little bit more alert to finish out our day. You can use your phone for good. I know sometimes we have a tendency to spend a little too much time on our phone, but we can use those tools in a positive way. And one of those might be to set a recurring alarm on your phone. For me, I will set an alarm and it has 3 words for how I want to feel for the day, whether that's I want to feel intentional or humble or joyful, whatever those words are for you. Or your reminder on your phone can be, hey, get up and stand up, go take a stretch somewhere, go take a walk. Whatever you think is going to help you at a time that you might need it so that you're planning ahead. And then, just having those visual reminders everywhere. So that last one, if you wanted to make the screensaver on your phone or your computer, maybe have sticky notes with encouraging words or quotes or anything like that around just having those visual reminders. Dry erase markers work really great on a bathroom mirror. That's one of the tips that I use too.
If you are fortunate enough to have an Apple Watch, by default, it reminds you 10 minutes before the hour to stand up and get up and move around a little bit. Actually do it when it reminds you.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, my watch is going off again. Yeah, that's nice. It's there for a reason to get you up and moving. There's actually a lot of science behind the magic number of 52 minutes. So I don't know if you follow Brendan Burchard. He's a high performance expert and has done the world's longest study. It was over 20 years of studying all these high performers and what habits they had to really help them be successful. And they found that moving our body at least every 52 minutes, standing up and stretching, is a really effective way to help abate the stress and also give you that mental clarity. So the Apple Watch is pretty darn close, reminding you on that 10 minutes before the hour for that to happen. All right, a few habits and routines. If you were with us at the beginning, I am not a morning person. So for me, having to have or getting to have that pause and really not have people talk to me is a great thing in what I personally need. It might be different for you. I'm just sharing some of the things that work for me. And one of the biggest, most wonderful things that changed how my days go is in the morning, I set a rule of no social media, no emails, anything like that within at least an hour of waking up. And then finding alternative for that. So instead of hopping on your phone before you even get out of bed, what's something else you can do? And I gave you some options. For me, I always make my bed first thing in the morning. There is a video linked here. I don't know if you've heard the commencement speech of why making your bed's important, but you may give that a look later on your own time. But I listen to a motivational podcast whenever I'm getting ready for work. So we can put some of those in the resources for you too. And one of Brendan's quotes is the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. So you do have to put in a little bit of effort for that, but we're trying to find those habits that will help us to get through the rest of the day and be really efficient in our day. So in the afternoon, be your own cheerleader. Okay. Even if it seems silly, this is a good one too. If there are chores or things that you don't really enjoy doing around the house, thinking of your chores as self-care tasks. Like, I don't know how many people think laundry is very fun. For me, laundry is not that fun. I bought a flip fold. So you lay out your shirt or your towels and you flip one way, flip the other, and then flip in the opposite direction. And oh, everything's nice and neat. I find that fun. So anything you can do to kind of gamify those chores and those self-care tasks might be a good thing to kind of trick your body into shifting your mindset around those things. A couple of other tips and tricks. You can find an accountability partner if you have somebody at work, or when you get home right after work, maybe go take a walk around the block, something like that. And just noticing that when that energy starts to fade, instead of reaching for the caffeine, it's actually better to get up and move your body. So those stretching, those slow mindful breaths, all of those can be invigorating in the middle of the afternoon. And then for our evening tasks, right in here, for me, because the mornings are so hard, I find anything I can do the night before to make my life easier is really, really effective for me. And, it might be the opposite routine for you, but just asking that magic question of what can you do now to make your life easier later. Those are some examples that I do. Having any kind of food ready, preparing for the next day, setting out my clothes, packing up for, work or school, and then quieting your mind, trying to alleviate some of the caffeine and the screen time and things like that as well. And then having that assessment on a regular basis. And a few little motivational quotes for you in here. This was at one of the yoga studios where I teach. It's okay to be a glow stick. Sometimes you have to break before you can shine. All right, so having that assessment for daily, I have a planner that I use. There's morning questions. So part of that, no social media or anything before, at least an hour. I know it said, I think 15 minutes on the screen, but my personal rule is an hour. And finding other things you can do. So I have a morning journal that I go through and do my mindset, scheduling out my day, looking at some positive things. And then also it has an evening reflection to it as well. So sometimes we forget about that part, but just taking a moment, and it can be a physical journal that you write in. It can just be mentally, maybe you're taking a shower and you're like, oh, how'd my day go? Okay. And just having that reflection on what were some things that went really well? Was there anything that, challenged you that day that you struggled with? And perhaps think about, if one of my friends came to me, what advice would I give to them if they were having that same issue? And then having that gratitude and just looking at that too. We put a couple of resources in our Wakelet resource section at the end. I have a daily habit tracker. It's a spreadsheet. It'll ask you to make a copy for yourself. And then we also have a mindfulness planner. Chris, do you want me to show those?
Sure.
Okay. So those of you that are in the Wakelet space, in the resources section, we have our mindfulness planner here. And Chris, if you want to talk about that while this is on the screen.
Sure. So Destiny and I put together this planner that just gives you a weekly review, and then a daily morning mindfulness, and then evening mindfulness time to be able to sit down and go through a few questions every day to just help you organize your thoughts and get things in order in your mind as you start and end every day. And then in the weekly review and the monthly review, it has you go back through and then be able to review and reflect on how you've done, and then be able to set goals, short-term and long-term for the next cycle. So using a journal, I know, has helped Destiny a lot. I do a little bit for myself. I took what we built for the mindfulness planner for teachers and modified it slightly for myself, because I do more technical work. And so I have a lot of project-based things, but being able to do that and just have that time to get your thoughts together, especially in the morning, but having the reflection in the evening really, really helps to make your day feel more productive, because then at the end of the day, you go back and reflect and realize all of the things that you actually got done. So.
And then I just added also, there's a Google Sheet, and it'll ask you to make a copy. Oh, I'm only on the one tab. It won't show you what it is, but it's this first one right here. Sorry. It'll ask you to make a copy of a Google Sheet, and there's a checklist for you. So since you're making a copy, it's editable. And I originally had things in there like making your bed, working on nutrition, flossing your teeth, drinking water, but you can edit those as much as you want. And there are check boxes in that spreadsheet. So it's like a digital version of a bullet journal for those of you that do that, but that is also in our resources for you as well. So back to our habits and our balanced approach. Let me scroll back down here. Having that assessment. So Chris talked about that, and moving that also to a weekly and a monthly basis. So that is something that we put in our mindfulness planner, if that's something that you want to check out. But just reflecting back on your week, and that can be any day of the week, whether it's a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon, But just looking back and thinking, what's one thing that I could have done last week that would have made my life easier? For me, I like to focus on meal planning. So sometimes I schedule out my day, and I know it sounds silly, but I forget to eat. Does anybody else have that happen to you? So I need that extra planning of getting some food prepared so that if I think, oh, I forgot to eat or I only have 30 minutes, I already have something ready to go. And so that nutrition part is a really big thing for me. For you, it might be sleeping or exercise, but just reflecting back on the week and seeing how it went. And then also doing that same thing monthly as well. So revisiting any long-term goals you have. I don't know if you ever set a big giant goal and then life happens and you do really well on it for a while, and then it kind of tapers off and you forget about it. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh, wait, I was going to do that thing, right? So having that monthly revisiting of those goals is just a way to check in with yourself. It's not saying that you have to have made progress on it, but it keeps that in the back of your mind. And we have this thing in our brain called the reticular activator, and it's like our intuition. So, for example, if you're trying to save up and buy a particular car, and then all of a sudden you notice how many of those same cars are on the road, that's your reticular activator going, hey, there's the thing. Remember that thing you wanted? I'm showing it to you. And then our brain just subconsciously starts to wire in and present those opportunities to us. So revisiting those long-term goals on at least a monthly basis is really, really important to kind of help keep you on track and at least remind you of those things, regardless of the amount of progress that you've made on them.
Those reviews help you see bringing those things back to mind over and over and over again. One, it helps you build better habits, and two, when opportunities pop up, it helps you actually see them and recognize them for the opportunities towards your goals that they actually are. And so because it will remind you of that goal, the reticular activator will pop up and say, hey, that's a thing you can do. And so it helps.
Thanks. So we also have a balanced approach here. So just recognizing your triggers and how stress manifests for you, and trying to challenge your brain to look at new things. I really like that visual of everyone's growth looks different, right? So you may be flourishing and planting this, seeing those flowers blooming on the outside, but at other times, those roots are really starting to grow and take effect, and it's getting there, and you're building that foundation for the things that are really important to you. One of the things that I wanted to mention on the habits aspect is being able to set boundaries, and it's okay to say no, right? So for me, having that idea of lack of preparedness on the part of other people does not constitute an emergency for me. And most of the time, those deadlines are pretty arbitrary. So, just a quick little story. There was one day that I walked into my school. I still had all of my bags on, everything was loaded up. I hadn't got to my desk yet. And I ran into an assistant principal in the middle of the hallway, and comes, barreling up to me. He was like, did you do that thing yet? And I just froze. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. All my stuff is here. I haven't got to my desk yet. And he's like, but I emailed you this morning. And I went, oh, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't check email or any social media for at least an hour after I wake up. That's my personal policy. It's important for me to get my mindset correct, plan out my day, and then I build in time for other people. And at first he was like really taken aback. And then he paused and thought about it and went, oh, actually, I really like that. That's a good plan. Okay, cool. Let me know when you get to it. Right. So sometimes that sense of urgency, it's really not. Don't be afraid to stop and ask the question. And having those boundaries for yourself, I think, is really important. So anyway, that was my little story and tidbit for you on that. And then our last section is going to be on some apps. So Chris, I don't know if I'll show a few of these in the collection, and then I'll let you switch
Yeah.
screen so you can get that set up while I go through some of these. I don't know if we'll need James back or not when we're ready to change,
Yeah.
but what?
They can change it for us.
Okay. So in moving through some of the apps, I tried to find things that were good for both iPhone and Android and just gave you a lot of options here. So a few of these will end up showing you. Chris will go into a little bit more detail with our last few minutes, but I wanted to mention some of them for those of you taking notes or going through the collection. Maybe you want to put a like next to them. So I'm going to go ahead and like the Balance app because it's my favorite. The Balance app is one that Chris will show in detail in a few minutes, but it uses personalized AI technology. So anytime you do a guided meditation in this app, it'll ask you questions afterwards, and then it uses your answers on your response of how you felt or what you liked and didn't like, and then over time it starts to personalize the meditations for you so that you're really getting that tailor-made experience. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Calm. It's really, really popular. I do like that they have a lot of extra resources available for you. There's a blog that goes along with that. There's sleep stories, which is what I use it for. So when you're falling asleep, they have nice soothing voices that tell you a story as you drift off. The Rain app is that third one there, and it shares different sounds to sleep with. So there's nature sounds. There is a premium version of that, but I've only used the free version and I've had it for about 4 or 5 years now. You can choose different sounds. And then I think once a week, they'll offer a premium sound for free for you to try that. And then just a few of these going through Calm Harm. I have a friend that she's a PhD in psychology and works with her students for having this app to help teenagers to manage the urge for self-harm. So that might be a great resource for you to share with your classes. If you have littles, the Finch app is really cool. It gives you a little pet avatar and then you choose your daily tasks. And the more habits that you check off your list, your pet gets to flourish and have, different outfits and grows and flourishes along with you. So that one's kind of fun. And then Insight Timer, I just learned about that one this past week, but it seems really, really good. I love it, one, because it's free, and it's also about 5 different types of apps in one. So they have nutrition and sleep and meditation and breathing. So there are a lot of options for you for that. Chris, are you ready to share?
Sure.
Is that going to work?
Yes, it should. So if I go here.
While you're getting that ready, I'll talk about a couple of other ones. Wobot is another app that uses AI, and it's almost like a chat back and forth. So it's a mental health app. It'll ask you, hey, how's your day going? And then you type in your answer, and it just gives you this really sympathetic listening ear that goes, oh, wow, that sounds so hard. And then perhaps can give you, some tips and tricks, some nice little quotes, and boost your confidence and help you gain clarity. So that one's a fun one. The Down Dog, Great Yoga Anywhere, they have a free version if you have a school email address to be able to put that into their app. They've got a few different ones, but if you do enjoy yoga, it'll have that for you. How are you doing?
It is not letting me share my screen for some odd reason. I did this 2 minutes ago and it's not working again. So
James, feel free to pop in anytime and help us out here so we can show the apps.
It's a permissions issue and I got to restart Chrome to do it. And so
what if I mirror?
You might be able to mirror.
Do you want to?
That's okay. So the big thing, one of the big things for me with the Balance app,
I'll go back to that one and show it.
Yeah. So Balance is one of my favorites. I actually use that one.
Oh, it's not going to open because I'm on the one tab.
The Balance app will, I use it a lot of times just for falling asleep. Like I have a lot of time, my brain just keeps going and it gets really difficult to fall asleep. And so they have on the app, they have a bunch of different resources for sleep time. So they have a bunch of sleep meditations and sleep journeys and sleep sounds. They even have like wind down things so that you can do a meditation before you go to bed. But the like the fall asleep, like the sleep journeys and the fall asleep meditations, a lot of them have body scans in it, and body scans are my kryptonite. And the voices are so soothing and quieting. They tell you to get comfortable, and they tell you to take a couple of deep breaths, and they tell you to start focusing on your feet, and then they work their way up to your ankles and your knees. And then I don't remember anything that happens after any of those because I'm always asleep. So I don't know what the end of those meditations sound like. I couldn't tell you. That's how good the app is. So and then like with the sleep stories, the way that they're recorded and built, everything is in very short incremental modules, and so they can change the order of how all of the different things flow through the stories on the back end. So even if you listen to the same sleep story 5 times in a row, it's going to be different every time. And so it's built really, really well. And
I would say one of the reasons we like that one so much for the Balance app is every person gets a free full year of premium for all new users. So an entire free year of all their content, premium content. So that's a really, really good resource for you to start out with.
And when you sign up for it, even if you don't want to continue with the premium subscription, they will remind you multiple times before your subscription expires or before it auto renews. They will remind you multiple times, so you have ample opportunity to cancel it should you need it. So,
and if you do that one and really enjoy it, sometimes they'll offer, instead of a yearly subscription, a lifetime subscription. And if you wait certain times of the year, they heavily discount it. So I think I ended up getting my lifetime subscription for $140 instead of $400. And then versus if you went year to year, then it's $69.99.
yeah.
And while we finish up here, we've got just a couple minutes left. I'm guessing James might come on for some Q&A, but we wanted to mention in our resources also, I have a Cultivating Calm course. So it's right in the middle here on the screen. Is that still sharing? Oh, there's the delay. I forgot. So with TCEA, I partnered with them and created an online course called Cultivating Calm. It's worth 12 hours of CPE credit, and it will take you through breathing techniques. And then also there's a module on all yoga classes. So if you really like the physical aspect, it's there for you as well. And then there's things you can do with your students in class. So it's got lesson plans built in as well. And you get 12 hours of credit if you buy the course, and it's on sale right now. So. Anything else?
I put the link to your course in the chat, and then we also have the Facebook space or Facebook group, if you want to talk about that.
So yeah, we have a Facebook group also in the resources called Calm Teachers Use Tech. So if you want some camaraderie and just get some encouragement in self-care, we share a lot of mindfulness resources as well as technology tips and tricks, since both of us are in the ed tech world. And then lastly, I wanted to give our special shout out to Diane Wilson and Amy Storr. If you had the pleasure of seeing them speak earlier this week as part of Wakelet Community Week, they did a session on promoting social and emotional learning. So I have their information for you. And if you didn't get to see it, go back and check their replay from the Wakelet Community Weeks. They did a really great job. I'm always learning from them too. So.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Chris and Destiny. That was awesome. I know you've been looking at the chat, and I must say, I think it's a very timely topic. Great time to talk about this topic. We have a lot of educators in their final week in their school, or maybe they just finished, or maybe they're about to finish. And I think mindfulness is top of the list, I think, for many of them. So thank you so much for those techniques, those resources, those apps that you suggested too.
Thank you. And also, I've noticed that some people are already adding to the Wakelet space. Yes, please add your resources in for everyone else to share as well. So this can be a nice curation. It's one of the reasons we love Wakelet so much, and we use it when we present so that we have that collaboration with other educators.
Amazing. Just before we jump off, we have a couple of questions that came up a couple of times in the chat, if that's okay.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. So first of all, I loved the quote of self-care isn't selfish. I think a lot of people, especially educators, do struggle with self-care because they're so selfless, always caring about other people, obviously students, colleagues, family. What would you say to those that maybe struggle to, maybe say don't have the time to do self-care? Do you have any tips for how to get started?
I would really just start small. I mean, as simple as 5 breaths, thinking about, can I take 1 minute? Yes, you can have 1 minute. I believe we looked it up, and there's 1,440 minutes in a day. You can take one and stop and breathe. So starting small and then noticing how that makes you feel, and gaining the momentum that way.
Time is not something that you have or a thing that you find. It is something that you make. And so if you prioritize yourself, then it becomes an investment. And when you invest in yourself, it makes the rest of your day more productive, more efficient, more better for yourself. So if you can take that 5-10 minutes at the beginning of the day, then the rest of your day is going to be easier. And it's worth it. And then take another 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the end of your day and reflect back on the day, and it'll make your next day better. So that time investment is super, super important, and it comes back tenfold, 20-fold automatically. So
that's amazing. Thank you so much for those tips. Yeah, like I said, there's plenty of questions in the chat, so if you can jump into there and help out. But I think you covered a lot of the questions that were asked, and those resources will help out a lot. So again, thank you so much for that.
Right. Thanks.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Absolutely amazing keynote, the first one of the day. Chris, Destiny, it's been a pleasure. Please give Chris and Destiny a follow on their Twitter. And again, check out the resources, check out the courses, of course, that Destiny and Chris have created. Wow, that was amazing. And like I said, what a timely session to have as well. But the day's not over. There's still plenty of sessions left. We have one coming right up in around 3 minutes time, actually. So we'll get set up for that and get going. We have the amazing Nalan Taylor and Nairi Clark talking about how you can create a powerful school community. So we can continue the conversation. We want to start today talking about yourself and how you can practice self-care and mindfulness. And throughout the day, we're now going to talk about how you can then take that into your school community and build a powerful school community with everyone involved, your students, educators, colleagues, and also parents too. So keep an eye out for that. Again, anything that you like, please do tweet us, #WakeCommunityWeek. That'll enter you into the competitions. And of course, the certificate link has now been shared in the chat. So go ahead and grab that. So yeah, take a quick break and we'll be back with you in a couple of minutes time. Thank you. Bye.